Hello and welcome back to Spirit Mom. Today we're going to discuss being your own scientist. So this is becoming more discerning and being able to think for yourself, which I talk about a lot here. Well, recently I mentioned how one shouldn't get obsessed with learning things like astrology and tarot. And looking back, I feel like Source, my intuition, was almost pushing me. And like, I was questioning myself. You have to kind of, when you're dealing with your intuition, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to be a scientist. There's people out there with stories about how they have direct clairaudience, and good for them. But most of us don't. Most of us have clairsentience, a sense of knowing, right? That is what the majority of us are going to have. And that's our own doing because we're too scared. I, for one, when I feel things shifting, I panic and I go, don't talk to me, you know? So we do those things ourselves, but that's a topic for another day. So most of us feel safe in clairsentience, so that's what we have. So that's just an inner sense of knowing certain thoughts that come into our head. And we have to discern, was that God or was that my ego? So we come through, I start feeling these things about astrology and tarot, and I was like, yeah, I know they're great. Yeah, I know they're great. Anyways, long story short, I'm here to tell you that astrology is amazing and tarot is amazing to help you get further on your spiritual path. But you don't need to be obsessed with being perfect at it and knowing every little thing inside of it. So that's just something to tell you, but not the point of the whole video. The point is being your whole scientist of figuring out what works best for you. So my entire purpose in life, and one day I plan to write an amazing book about it, so stay tuned, is how all religions actually have a core fundamental teaching. And we can learn and discern and find out these things ourselves by being self-scientists. So that is like things for me, like with astrology and tarot and crystals, I don't take it at face value. If somebody says that's magic and it's going to work, I'm not going to listen. I'm going to listen, but I'm not guaranteed to be like, oh God, did you see this? This is the most magical rose quartz mushroom you've ever seen. If you buy this, your life is saved tomorrow. You know what I mean? There's lots of people out there doing that, and that's not how reality works. In the short term, the placebo effect, the all is mind, will allow that to work. And if you truly took it to your core, it'll work. But for the majority of us, things can wear off if it's the snake oil, right? But this is where our scientific self comes in. We get into these issues, okay? So astrology, tarot. So I go in and out of phases. This is like what God was trying to tell me after I did that video. I go in and out of phases of learning it myself, I do. And it brings me new clarity when I go through and get into it. I'll just kind of get into it again. And then, like, you know, you're watching astrology YouTube videos, reading astrology related books, or doing your own astrology reports, right? And you get new wisdom. But then, for me, I don't know, I get sick of it. I get like, it's just routine. I get like, it's not magical anymore. It's not teaching me anything. It's a chore, you know, to wake up and do that every day, or, you know, at any point in your day, right? Anything can be like that. Same with tarot. I go through the major arcanas and learning, you know, and that is a psychological learning. Carl Jung, you should look into it. That's very powerful. But I don't really use it for divination. I don't use it for divination at all. I have used tarot decks, for opinions, like, do you think this is a good idea? You know, that was very early on. I don't actually do that anymore because, again, I'm working through different things work for us at different times. Now I sit and I get into that meditative space and I try to feel for the right answer. These are all working things that we are scientifically experimenting with in our own lives. We all have our own genetic makeups. We all have our own upbringings. We all have our own astrology, our own star charts. So we all have our own things that make up our personality that is unique to us. So because this super magical mushroom crystal saves somebody else's life, it doesn't mean it's going to save your life. You need to do the work and the experimenting. That's what came to me, that this is experimenting. We're scientifically experimenting. No, we don't have beakers and potions, but we, unless you're practicing with potions. We just have to go through it, and like, I'm seeing this energetically, like, we all have this inside of us. This is a pretty version of it, but we are made, more accurately, like this. We are made of sacred geometry, and you see all these intertwining unique sects. We all have our own of these, right? We all have our own flower of life. Like, we all are made of sacred geometry, and with that, we all have these different strings that we need to find that's for us, that we can make our lives the best that they can possibly ever be, but it's unique to us, and we want to use all the things available to us in the spiritual world, but study and learn and feel for yourself what works best. Okay, good luck, see you soon.